So, in a world where almost everything is going digital, from education and healthcare to communication and finances, we must ask ourselves a question: if we all are truly leaving no one behind. So, uh, this question is very important because we need to realize that being connected is not just the same as being included, because nearly 70% of the population is connected to the internet in today's world, while the remaining 30% still are not. That is 2.6 billion people. And even connection is not the only issue that we are going to discuss here today. We are talking about digital divide that lies in the gaps of digital literacy, accessible technology, and meaningful inclusion here. So, our conversation moves beyond just being connected. This session includes older adults who are often left behind by the fast changing interfaces, technology, and persons with disabilities who still encounter inaccessible websites, apps, or services, and gender minorities whose needs are still ignored quite. So, this is Aakriti Gautam from Nepal. I am Policy Associate at Internet Governance Institute. Originally, this session was to be moderated by Ms. Susmita Aryal, who is the Executive Director of Women's Group for Disability Rights, but due to some tragedy in the family, she could not be here. So I am here, and I am glad to be your moderator for today's session. And we have our brilliant panel of experts with us who will be helping us deepen our understanding in these topics. And I'm really honored to introduce you all. So, first of all, we have Mr. Mohammad Sabir. Dr. Mohammad is an analyst, activist, right activist, and a researcher who has expertise in international relations, digital accessibility, internet governance, as well as in policy and strategy formulation. He is based in Pakistan, and he is also executive chief of Pathfinder Solutions in Pakistan. We also have Gunela Astbrink, very nice lady, if you ask me. I just met her just a few weeks back, and just a week back, actually. Gunela is a member of UNIGF and MSc in APrIGF. She is based in Australia and has an extensive experience in policy and research into accessible internet communication technology. She has a strong understanding and involvement in general internet and telecommunications on public areas, public affairs, operational, legislative, and regulatory basis, and overall internet policy work. So thank you so much, Gunela and Dr. Shabbir, for being here. And we have Satish Babu, who is a free software activist, early internet advocate, and development professor based in India. He is co-founder of InApp in India. I also met him a week back. Yeah, welcome to the session. Thank you so much for being here, Satish Babu. And we have Professor Dr. Krishna Bal here. He's a professor at Department of Computer Engineering in Kathmandu University, based in Nepal. So we have our panelists from all around the Asia Pacific. And to start off, we will have a live demonstration on accessibility in website. So we have Mr. Birod Khatira here with us, who is president of Disabled Care Nepal. And thank you so much for being here, Birod. He'll be demonstrating us live how a user with visual impairment navigates through an accessible versus non-accessible website. So if Birod is ready, can you share the screen and then show us the navigation? So I think Virod is not here currently. So we will move that to the later part in our sessions. And we now have a Q&A question with our panelists. So to start, before we dive deeper into this conversation, let's start with the basics. I would like to ask all the panelists, so you all have 1 minute each because we also have to be mindful about the time. I would like to propose a question. How would you define digital literacy and accessibility, and why do they matter just as much as internet access? So this is my question to all the panelists. So let's start with Dr. Bal.
So let me start. So basically, we are talking about digital literacy and accessibility, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are several aspects, all of us know that this digital revolution has been quite transformative in that it's been rapidly evolving, and it's been touching all the aspects of our lives. But at the same time, due to limited literacy of the fast evolving digital development and tools, we do not necessarily get the full access or benefits of all this digital advancements and revolution. So it's very important that we basically know what's possible and what's not possible, because I mean lately there is a myth that this AI can do everything, and to some extent that might be true. But at the same time, we need to be aware about the limitations about these tools, what these tools can do, and what to what extent we need to rely on these tools, and at the same time let these tools not replace us but just assist us. So these are just some of the tips for being digitally literate, because it's very important to know where these the tools would basically take us, right? And it's also necessary to know how to use these tools to the largest benefit of ourselves and the humanity. And at the same time, the thing is, we were talking earlier about digital divide as well, and it's earlier there was this English language which used to be the barrier to the access of technology, because everything is available in English. But later on, due to this localization initiatives, the technology has been quite, has reached to our access. But then there are other aspects. For example, these large language models that have been evolving are primarily developed for the resourceful languages. And in that respect, we all other low resource languages in the South Asian region, for example, or the Pacific, Asia Pacific region, for example, do not reap the maximum benefits of these large language models. And then there is this, the accessibility bottleneck. So that's also there. And then there are others. For example, in the community, we have this differently abled people, right? So people with visual impairment, or let's say hearing disabilities and so on. And for those community, or for those people as well, the technology is, I mean, there is some hurdle to get access to the technology. So I believe that the accessibility, I mean, it's not just about the internet or connectivity or other, technological infrastructure, but at the same time, there are other issues that in accessibility that needs to be addressed, so that we get to be digitally literate, as well as we get access to this widely available digital tools.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Bal. Now I'd like to pass the same question to Gunela, and I would like to request you to make it short and sweet, because we also have a lot of other questions to cover.
Yes, hello, and it's a pleasure to be here in this panel. And I want to say thank you, Aakriti, who I met last week. It was a pleasure, and thank you for stepping in at short notice to moderate this session. I see digital literacy and accessibility as very interconnected. People with disabilities need accessibility to digital services and products, but if they don't know about the dangers of the online world, then then there are problems, and certainly for certain vulnerable groups in the disability world. So I just see them as very interconnected, and we need to work on both of them at the same time to achieve the best type of safety and accessibility for persons with disability. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the same question I would like to pass to Mr. Satish Babu, sir.
Thanks very much, Aakriti. This is Satish Babu from India. Very quickly, I'd like to divide this particular point into two aspects, the hard and the soft. The hard would mean internet availability, meaningful bandwidth, the price of access, etc. Then the device, the capability, price of the device. Then the infrastructural layer of the internet, that is DNS, internationalized domain names, universal acceptance, etc. These are things that we cannot change. They are there. We have to take it or leave it. So it's important that the governments and others provide for these hard aspects. The second is the soft aspects, which to some extent we can change. This is, for example, things like languages and scripts. I'd like to use the internet in my own script, my own language. Then the availability of content. Is there, like I'm a student, is there educational content available? And then the software. What are the software that is available to me and my device, my operating system? Then the aspect of convenience. These are all soft aspects. Do I have the device when I need it? If I need to receive a call, then I have to have the device with me when the call comes in. So is that available? Is that facility that when I can use it whenever I want? And finally, the use of the availability of assistive technology, which is specifically directed towards persons with disability. So these are the hard and the soft aspects. Thank you, and back to you, Aakriti.
That's a very nice perspective. Thank you so much, Satish Babu. And now I would like to pass the same question to Dr. Mohammad. Dr. Mohammad? Okay, so I don't think he's in the session currently. Now I would like I'd like to move on to the next question, and I would like
Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I think the digital rights and accessibility, digital literacy and accessibility should be understood from the perspective of persons with disabilities, and it can be explained in two layers. One is the first part, which relates to digital literacy, and the second part relates to accessibility. Literacy means the knowledge, understanding, and ability to use that knowledge for accessing and using the digital environments and technologies. The accessibility means that a person with any kind of disability, and from the disability, I think it should be understood that disability is not in the person. It is in the environment, according to the definition proposed by the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. This convention is not just signed but ratified by over 180 countries of the world. So, according to this definition, the environment, persons have impairments such as visual, hearing, cognitive, or physical. And the environment which is inaccessible, which has barriers, when those barriers interact with impairments, that causes the disability. So in that context, we will have to understand that the digital literacy being provided to people with disabilities, is it something that they can access? Is the digital environment, internet, or any other digital device that a person is using is accessible for them? Does it support screen readers? Does the website built has sign language interpretation? Or or any other accessibility features that are there. This is not the time to go into the details, but this means that when a person is interacting in the online or digital spaces with these environments, they should have the equal chance to engage with these devices and environments as any non-disabled person would. This
So, Dr.
means
Mohammed, yeah,
sorry?
I'm so sorry for interrupting this. I would just like to pose a question adding to this one. Uh,
Yeah.
so, I would like to ask you specifically what kind of accessibility challenges are faced by users, especially with visual impairments, and how can the tech community address these questions also?
Now, I'm coming to that. Thanks for this wonderful question. So the barriers that are faced by people with disabilities, you asked me specifically from the perspective of people with vision impairment. Uh, from the perspective of people with vision impairment, the first and foremost barrier is the inaccurate labeling or lack of information with regards to the screen reader that they use to access the information on the internet and digital environments. And coming back to the earlier point, digital literacy is, in that case, it means that the digital literacy is not just for to make it accessible, to make the environments accessible for people with disabilities. It's not essential or not necessary just to literate people with disabilities about the technology. It's also essential to train the coders, the content producers, about the accessibility standards and the requirements that are there for people with disabilities. For example, if a website is being built, if it is not built accurately and according to the certain standards, no matter how literate a person with vision impairment is, they cannot do anything and would not be able to use that website, no matter how digitally literate they may be. For instance, if I will give you a simple example. If on the web page you are filling up a form. For instance, you wanted to register for the APrIGF. You filled up the complete form, given all your information, but the button at the bottom of the page, which indicates that submit your registration request, it is not labeled. So the screen reader would just pronounce button. Now, a visually impaired person using that form would not be able to know that whether this button is to submit the form or cancel the form or cancel the information. In that way, all the page, all the website, and all the process would be rendered inaccessible for that person with vision impairment or person with disability. I think there are a number of other questions that we need to address, so I stop here.
Yeah. So I would like to pose another question to Gunela. So Gunela has been advocating for accessibility and digital and disability inclusion for a long time. So I'd like to ask what the current state of digital accessibility in Asia Pacific is, and how can government and civil societies collaborate together to embed accessibility standards like WCAG into digital policy frameworks. Yeah, that is my question to Gunela.
Thank you, Aakriti. There's certainly a lot to be done. And when it comes to the current state of digital accessibility in this region, there is a long way to go. And it's one thing having the policies, the government policies, be it on accessibility or ICT policies that include clauses on accessibility for persons with disability. And that's very good. But if there is no implementation process, it's just a piece of paper or a statement on the online website or whatever. So that's where we need to continue working. And so there is that ongoing long-term advocacy probably going together with different disability organizations, joining, connecting, so there is a voice to government that is there on a continuing basis. Even if government changes, that voice continues. So that's really important. And to be able to be a strong voice, not only coordinated, but joining in with other organizations in IT. And one way is joining a local Internet Society chapter, where you have a cross-section of people with different expertise, and for them to work with you and vice versa, to build an understanding and then to build awareness of accessibility for persons with disability. And I can say, for example, when it comes to the NRIs in this region, while Dr. Shabbir mentioned a particular issue with the APrIGF website, it has progressed over time to become more and more accessible. And we also have, for example, a quota of fellows, at least one person from the region to participate at an APrIGF. In some sessions there are sign language, there's captioning. So all of those features are there, including if it's a physical venue that we are traveling to, that the venue is checked for accessibility. And this applies to APrIGF, APsig, where I'm from, Australia, the Australian IGF. So they are steps. We need to do a lot more, but they are steps in the right direction. So one other thing I wanted to point out is courses in IT for students, if it's a college course, university course, those courses should incorporate web accessibility. And so then it becomes nothing new or novel when young people join the workforce. They then know about it and may work in it straight away as part of all the other features of a website that need to be made. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Gunela. Now my question is for Satish Babu. So from a private sector perspective, so designing an inclusive and accessible product. So what is the business case for this, and how can companies embed inclusive design to product development life cycle? I'd want to know this in a very short and sweet, just how you described in the last question.
Thanks very much, Aakriti. So again, very quickly, there are at least two things that a typical business would look for when developing software that is compliant to disability guidelines. First is that they should perceive a business case, as you said, which means they can generate more than the kind of investment required in going the extra mile for ensuring access. Now, this is not as simple as it sounds. In a different context, we were contacting one of the biggest technology companies in the world, and we wanted to bring in something called universal acceptance, which is to do with the user experience while you have different scripts. And they said, okay, we have so many products. The largest two products, we will ensure that compliance is there. But the third largest, which is a kind of mobile phone operating system, they flatly refused. They said, this is working fine right now. We don't want to tamper with it. And so, sorry. So they were very candid about it. Now, the point is that, therefore, the business case is one thing. And this company, of course, sells very, very large number of Android operating systems. So the other thing is that there should be policy nudges, or at least compliances required for them. So the governments have to come out and say that all software companies must ensure compliance. And if it is not the global guidelines, at least the regional or national guidelines, and which implies that countries should have their own guidelines. APsig in 2022 organized a workshop for disability. Basically, Gunela was handling it, and we had our APrIGF organizers. This is in Dhaka, and we put out a declaration basically calling for everyone concerned, all the policymakers, to ensure that there is spaces available for people with disabilities, which meant the guidelines were in place, which meant some compliance check was in place. That means people who produce software, like my company does software creation, but it's for different clients. Those clients are unaware of what does it mean to kind of be compliant. So unless everyone down the stack is aware of the need for this, not just from a kind of humanitarian perspective, but also from a compliance, official, legal perspective. So that means we need teeth. The country's policies on or guidelines on this requires some action, or they're able to kind of pull up people who are unable to or are not compliant. So therefore, I would say that private sector is okay. Private sector has no problems, but we can't say that the private sector will be proactive. That proactiveness comes from some push they get from the country's the national policy or the global policy. So therefore, there is a big case for joining hands, connecting all the organizations of the disabled or people with disabilities across different regions and countries, so that collectively we put pressure on these policymakers to ensure that there is compliance. Thank you, and back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Satish Babu. Now, moving on to Professor Dr. Bal, I would like to ask you specifically linguistic related questions here. So, talking about linguistic inclusion, it is often overlooked in digital access. So, what are the major challenges and opportunities, especially for supporting local and low resources language in technology? Since you're based in Nepal, I think we can use that experience really well.
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges is obviously data scarcity, right? I mean, as I also briefly mentioned earlier as well. So many of these South Asian languages, they lack annotated corpora, lexicons, and speech data sets. So university could be basically served as a technology innovation hub for developing these local data sets and NLP tools and digital content. And the other thing is there is also a good news here that there are several multilingual models, global multilingual NLP models, which could be customized for other languages. Like I could give an example of this Embed, NLP, and so on, which will support transfer learning to low resource languages. So what we could do as a university is basically we could try to increase the access to local languages to these different resources, and we could lead this community-driven data initiatives and academic industry partnerships as well to localize this technology effectively. And in that, we could basically look into open source ecosystems for making these tools accessible to local innovators. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Since you're a professor at Kathmandu University also, so from an academic institution point of view, how can academic institutions and students contribute to promoting linguistic diversity in digital ecosystem?
Yeah, basically what we could do here is a collective effort to that the students could participate in crowdsourced language documentation, translation projects, or community-driven localization efforts. And we could integrate these AI and digital humanities courses in the curricula at the same time. And also we could, through these collaborative labs, like language technology research groups, we could connect to local efforts with global open source communities like Hugging Face, Mozilla, Common Voice, and so on as well. And that way, we could basically help the government in building some national digital strategies as well, so that this all these differently abled people as well as in general technology could be more friendly to not just the highly resourced languages, but also to the different languages which are not in the language map. So Nepalese basically has more than 120 plus languages, and in the days to come, we could gradually bring these different languages as well and then make them benefit from growing technology like machine translation and all those different tools like speech to text, text to speech, OCRs, ASR, and IRs, and so on.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Bal. Now moving on to the next question, since our topic is accessibility for all ages and abilities. I would like to pose a question to Satish Babu. So what I'd like to ask is, what are the challenges from accessibility point of view that senior citizens actually have been facing, because we also have been getting a lot of payment scams and all those issues as well. So what are the common issues that senior citizens have been facing from accessibility perspective?
Thanks very much, Aakriti. So when you talk about senior citizens and accessibility, I am of the opinion that all of us become persons with disability as we grow older. Some of our faculties start failing. After a given age, it is quite likely that multiple facilities, or we are unable to kind of use all our facilities together. There is room for these scams. But scams come from another source as well, not only the issue of perception of documents and screens and so on. This is that the current generation, now this is perhaps a temporary problem, a transitional problem. The next couple of generations who are born into, they are AI literate, not just literate, but they are born into AI and technology. So they will not fall for such scams. But the present elder generation have no background in these kind of technologies, whether you are with disability or without disability, the age itself becomes a disability, that you haven't had the chance to kind of get acquainted with this current OTP. What is an OTP? Why is it important? So a kind of education that many people have earlier also called for, especially for the elder people with and without disability. That's a very pertinent issue, but it's such a large issue. If you take India, for example, we have 1.4 billion people, of which about 20% or 25% are can be considered as elderly. Now, how does one get to kind of educating all these people? Whereas the technology has reached the bottom end, meaning everybody has a mobile phone, everybody uses UPI here. Even a small lady who's selling vegetables under a tree has a QR code in front of her. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because they can transit; they don't need cash, liquid cash. But it's not necessarily a good thing. There are cases of people having shopkeepers sticking a QR code on the wall so that people can make payment. But somebody coming at night and sticking over that QR code with their own QR code, so all the money goes to them, and that's a scam, of course. So a whole lot of education is required. But the good news is that it is probably a transitional problem. In another 10 years, this problem may not exist like this. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Satish Babu. That's a nice perspective. And regarding the previous question that I asked Satish Babu, that included what is the business case for designing inclusive and accessible product, I'd like to add on to that and ask Dr. Mohammad a question that private companies, how can they prioritize accessibility and inclusivity in their design process? Is there any way that it can be prioritized, for example, incentivizing them or any other ways? So I'd like to pose that question to Dr. Mohammad Shabbir.
Yes, thank you for that question. And I think the current question also relates to, as you said, with the previous one.
Yeah.
And how can the private companies be motivated to include accessibility in their products? Is one word answer would be the business case. And private companies are out there first and foremost to do business, to earn money. And in the software business, when you are developing the product, unless you are developing a very specific product for a specific purpose, most of the time you do not know who would be using your product. Once it is out in the market, even that specific use case is out of your hand, that who gets to use your product. And unlike the physical world where we are dealt with the barriers, the capabilities, and the abilities, we in the digital space, since this is being created, so if a thing can be created, it can be created accessible or inaccessible. The need is for the companies to realize that if they build accessible, they are able or they would be able to reach the wider audience. And this means people with disabilities, with different kind of abilities, as we have already discussed, the aging related, age related disabilities, which is another layer to what barriers have been emerging in our spaces. So considering that, the first thing would be the business case, the second would be the policy. And policy means the regulation side at the state level, and then the policy means the regulation side at the company level. The state level would ensure that any business operating in an X territory would have to comply certain standards. And we have seen examples of those things. If we see Android and iOS mobiles, Windows coming up with screen readers, magnifiers, and other accessibility features, yes, it is partly related to the goodness of the hearts of the companies that build these products. But it is also partially owing to the regulations in the territories and countries where the bulk of the businesses of these companies operate. For instance, you cannot have a company and a product in the USA or in the European Union, in Canada, in Australia, England, any of the developed world operating up to more than a certain level of the business, but not have it accessible. Even the laws there are so strong that the White House can be dragged into the court on the grounds that some meeting or conference which was done at the certain level was not made accessible for people with disabilities. So these kind of laws and regulations are required. And at the third level, the company level laws and regulations. Once the realization is there, then there has to be certain company policies which regulate and guide the business development of the company, because it's easier in this age and time where everyone is trying to rush the product out, everyone is trying to compete under certain pressures. So it's very crucial that we have certain standards in the companies where the softwares and these products, digital products, are developed. So once the products are being developed, they are developed accessible and inclusive from the scratch, because it's easier to build a product accessible than to retrofit the accessibility into the products after the fact that the product was completed. Last point I want to add here is that it is also a sort of myth that a certain product which is made accessible is useful for people with disabilities only. It has been seen that the products which was made accessible for people with disabilities, other people who do not have any disabilities have been found saying that the product was made accessible and easier for them as well. For instance, this captioning feature that we use to transcribe our meetings, it was essentially or originally idea that these meetings should be made accessible for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. But now these meetings transcripts are being used for so many other purposes, which do not have anything related to accessibility or disability. Thank you.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, Dr. Mohammad Shabbir. It also adds to the linguistic points as well, the live captioning point that you just mentioned. So I'd like to connect to that and then ask another question to Dr. Bal. So, how can policy and technical design intersect to ensure that linguistic design is preserved in digital innovation?
Yeah, thank you. Basically, with this federal structure implemented in the Nepalese context, let's say. So there is a lot of demand for local languages, the tools in the local languages for in the e-government platforms, for example. And in that respect, we could basically devise a policy that it's not just the languages that are basically recognized, or let's say the government just gives mandate for the uses of these languages, but also we develop some computational solutions with these languages, like machine translations systems. So that could basically be carried out in the policy level itself. And in that respect, the government and the academia could work together in developing such systems. The other thing is, rather than just being relying on the available solutions or large language models or AI solutions, we should basically look into how we could develop our capacity locally, so that we are not just black box. We use these LLMs as a black box bird. We develop the capacity to basically develop these systems for our local users, and also come out with some engineering solutions and see how these technologies are developed, so that they could be customized for our benefits. So in that respect, we could basically look into developing the local large language models as well, which best cater our needs. So that way, I believe, policy-wise, if we could basically develop such digital strategies in which the local language computing is promoted and encouraged, and then accordingly we develop some policies together with the government and the academia, then there could be collaborative, environment, and definitely the private sector also could basically, help us with the implementation, broader implementation. So that way, I feel this gap, digital divide, and then earlier we were talking about this digital accessibility and literacy could be basically enhanced or minimized in the further days to come. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Bal. And we are running out of time, so I'd like to have a question for Gunela, and after that, we will move to audience clinic and resource sharing session. So in that session, you all can ask questions to our panelists. So my question to Gunela would be that we have to move from accessibility as an afterthought to accessibility by default in this age. So what are the practical steps that can be taken to ensure that the voices of people are central to digital inclusion policy making? So that is my question to Gunela. And after that, we will move to the Q&A, audience resource sharing. So, okay, seems like Gunela has connectivity issues, so she cannot speak. Then we will now move to audience clinic and resource sharing. So thank you so much to our panelists for all those discussions. It's been inspiring and incredibly insightful. So we've talked about policies, designs, and everything that we needed to know. But in this part, we'd love to open the floor for your voices and listen to maybe what you've encountered. You can also ask questions, and if you can speak up, you can, and you can also type, and then I can read it out aloud for you. So let's keep your questions and reflections brief. We are also running out of time. So let's get started. Who'd like to begin? Okay, so we have Subhasini Shrestha here. Yeah, I can see Subhasini raising hands, so please go on.
Hello everyone. And am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful session. I'm Subhasini Shrestha, APrIGF local fellow, and I have been hearing this digital literacy and digital accessibility for a long time, and I have also been working in this field since a quite long time. And our Dr. Mohammad, I have personally met him in Nepal while he was in Digital Rights Nepal. So I appreciate his thoughts and sayings regarding the accessibility and other perspective. I also agree with him that the digital accessibility should bring together the IT professionals or IT related people and PWDs together to bridge the gap between the digital accessibility. In Nepal, people are only focusing on the IT sector, but we need to understand the problem statement of the person with disability also. So first of all, problem statements should be identified from the person with disability. Then only IT professional or IT students can develop the solution for them that I want to focus on. And another thing is that people are using differently able in this platform also. So I request everyone not to use such languages in this kind of platform, because we already know that person with disability or people with disability is the right term to use. And also I would like to focus on the regulation and policies of the government in Nepal, so that this digital accessibility could foster in future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Subhasini. Yeah. Yes, Serial,
And
PWD
also,
is into the system. Yeah.
sorry, I would also like to add one thing. In this APrIGF, it is recorded and going live. So I would really be happy if we could accommodate sign language interpreter for this APrIGF. So everyone around the world, there are people with hearing impaired or deaf person, they can also hear our discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Subhasini. So, is there anyone that would like to raise a question? Because this is your time. Okay, so we see Serial raising a hand here. We cannot hear you, Serial, actually.
That will help. Hold
Okay.
it down. I'm in both rooms at once, you see, so I'm trying not to speak to the wrong room at the wrong time. My apologies. Okay, just to respond to why we're not doing signing, and I'm from the multi-stakeholder group that helps organise these APrIGFs, but I just want to let you all know that any session, and I mean any session, that requested to have signing done, that has been indeed provided. We have, of course, provided captioning throughout, which is a step ahead from where we used to be. Gunela will tell you about the dim, dark, distant days of disasters when we had to fight for even that. But the signing is, at this stage for this conference, still very expensive in 2 streams for 3 days. We just do not have the sponsors to cover those costs. What we are able to do is provide signing for any session that needs it. But as Gunela pointed out, many national initiatives, including the one where I hail from, which is Australia, along with Gunela, we sign all of our sessions. But that also means we have a government sponsor for making sure we've got inclusion fully covered. So it's just a balancing act at the moment, but that is our intention. We'll get there one day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for clarifying that. So is there anyone else who would like to raise a question, maybe? So we have our resources. So since we have resources right in front of us, I think we should ask questions and then get as much as we can from them. So is there anyone interested in raising a question? Or even experience sharing. So if there have been any accessibility related experience that you have faced, then you could also share that. I think Birod has shared that in the chat. So I can read that out aloud. So what he has written is that my understanding is that persons with disabilities are not differently abled, but simply persons with disabilities. There is no difference between persons with and without disabilities. The only difference is that persons with disabilities may use different methods to carry out daily activities. If we continue to refer to persons with disabilities as differently able, then there is a risk that their true identity may be lost. Therefore, we should use the correct term, person with disabilities. Cyril has also mentioned that PWD is the best term to use. And yeah, that is it. So is there anyone else that would like to ask a question maybe? Okay, I see a hand. Okay, Satish Babu, please go on.
Thanks very much. So on the last point, I must say I completely agree. If you say differently able, it's like that difference is like a superpower, which is not. So differently able is not like a different kind of superpower. It is just persons with disabilities, which are ordinary persons who have some limitations because of disabilities. So we have seen that in some governments, there is a tendency to kind of whitewash disability by high-sounding names, which we should not do, and we should kind of point the right kind of use the right kind of language so that we don't get confused with that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Satish Babu. So Gunela has raised hand. Gunela, please go on.
And I am back. Sorry about that. I had some issues and I had to do a total reset, etc., but we won't worry about that. So yes, I am very keen to answer some of your questions, Aakriti, and make some comments. So yes, we talked previously about public procurement and how a private sector should react to regulations that are in place in a number of different countries. And I believe in India as well, in this region, as well as Australia. There is something called the European Accessibility Act that came into force in June this year. It has been building up for quite a while. The European Union already has a Web Accessibility Directive for the public sector in European Commission countries. But now, this particular act means that any online service or digital service needs to be accessible for EU citizens. Now, why am I talking about this? We are in the AP region. It's anyone who from this region might have a contract to supply some digital service in the European Union countries. It needs to be accessible. And that can have quite an impact on countries in this region who do outsourcing for European countries. And the impact hasn't started yet, but I think we'll be seeing more and more of that. And so companies in Asia Pacific need to be aware that this will have an impact on their bottom line if they aren't producing accessible products. So that can build on itself, and we know that would benefit people with disabilities. If I may also, I wanted to make a couple of other points. And Satish mentioned about the workshop in Dhaka. This is on disability leadership and encouraging people with disabilities to have a stronger voice. And that Dhaka workshop that was in combination with APrIGF led to not online but on-site workshops in Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, and Nepal. And so from that, we are building those voices, strengthening those voices in a way so more advocacy can happen. And we also have a online course. This is funded by ISOC and organized through the Accessibility Standing Group of ISOC, an online course in that area on disability leadership in internet governance and digital rights. And if we have enough numbers, there will be a course starting later this week, early next week. So if there is anyone interested in that, I encourage you to consider joining that. And it's free of charge. It just needs registration with ISOC. So you can get in touch with me for any further details. I had the link lined up, but because I had to reset, it's not there anymore. I also wanted to briefly mention the two things, actually. One of them is how do these voices get heard? And I just, together with Dr. Shabbir, earlier in the day, we presented our case in the consultative process for WISIS Plus 20. This is the World Summit on the Information Society, and talked about disability and digital inclusion, etc. And that should basically be listened to by the ambassadors who are heading that process. And I'm very pleased to have seen Jennifer Chung, who is co-convener of the informal multi-stakeholder sounding board. So there could still be opportunities to make your voice heard for that particular zero draft for how internet governance and a lot of factors through the World Summit of Information Society will be run in future. My final comment, this is very quick, is about the Internet Society and its accessibility operational framework, working together with persons with disability for that organization to become more accessible. Thank you, and I'm sorry I went on a bit there.
No, thank you so much, Gunela. Now that is the resource sharing that I was talking about. And now we only have a minute or two left before we reach the end of this session. So thank you so much to our panelists, to everyone who's present here. And we have explored how to build a digital world that is inclusive for everyone of all abilities. And now, as we wrap up, as a reminder of why we are here, just a simple thing I would like to do. I would like to request all of you to open your mic and then have plays with me. So can we all do that? Can we please turn your mic on, and then I will say it out loud, and then you'll say it with me.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll start. I place to promote digital literacy, accessibility, and inclusion, so that no one is left behind in the digital world.
So that no one is left behind in the digital world.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this moment and helping make a future where technology works for all. Thank you so much. And now with that, we have arrived at the end of the session, exactly on time. Yeah. Thank you so much, all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all speakers, and thanks, Aakriti, as well.
Thank you, Aakriti.